As I looked closer at the list, I saw one name that stood out.
Anthony Joshua. That's gotta be it, Bernard! Fire up the jet! I'm going back to training camp! I'm fighting Anthony Joshua!
Jake Paul, who has been trolling fans and fighters all week, hinted he's gearing up for Anthony Joshua. The boxing world is losing its mind. Jake Paul admits he's scared, even terrified, but he's still taking the fight with Anthony Joshua. He knows the critics, Eddie Hearn, and pretty much the whole boxing world think he's insane for stepping in with AJ. Everyone around him keeps saying it's a terrible idea, a step way too far. But Jake leans into it, announcing he's fighting the big boy with full seriousness. And despite the fear, he still believes the unthinkable, that he can knock Joshua out, and he's already imagining what the world will say if he actually does it.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little scared. And yes, little Josh is signed to my enemy, Eddie Hearn. And I know Eddie and all of you naysayers were saying that I wouldn't take this fight.
I'm not sure Jake Paul's that crazy.
That's a bad idea.
AJ's gonna knock him out.
He's going to get hurt.
This might be a step too far.
Talk is cheap, my friends, but guess what? You're not alone. My friends and family couldn't even believe I was taking this fight.
I'm fighting Anthony Joshua.
No, look at my, oh no. Are you crazy? What the?
Are you scared?
No, I'm terrified.
I'm fighting Anthony Joshua.
The heavyweight?
Yes, the big boy.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
Are you for real?
I'm serious.
What's the world gonna say when you knock his ass out? Because it's gonna happen.
I know it's gonna happen too.
Jake Paul calls this the biggest fight of his entire career, stepping straight into the lion's den and doing what no one has dared to attempt before. He boldly vows that he, Jake, Joseph Paul, will knock out, defeat, and embarrass Anthony Joshua in front of the world. Scheduled for Friday, December 19th, and live on Netflix, this isn't just another fight, it's a spectacle, a statement, and a chance for Paul to cement his place in boxing history. The hype is massive, the stakes are high, and Paul is making it crystal clear he isn't just showing up, he's coming to leave a mark no one will forget. Every punch, every moment, and every headline will be watched by millions. And Jake is determined to make it count.
No mistake, this is the biggest fight of my career. I'm walking into the lion's den. I'm doing something that no one else has ever done before. I, Jake Joseph Paul, will knock out, defeat, and embarrass Anthony Joshua Friday, December 19th, live on Netflix.
Jake Paul is stepping into a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. He says when he beats Anthony Joshua, all doubt disappears, and no one can deny him the chance to fight for a world title. To his haters, this is exactly what they wanted. To the people of the UK, he says sorry, but he's not holding back. Paul calls it a mega show, a huge opportunity to make massive numbers, have big fights, and break every record while staying cool, calm, and collected. He warns that more fighters will follow his lead in the future, and he's ready to break the internet over Anthony Joshua's face.
Well, Jake Paul said this, a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. To all my haters, this is what you wanted. To the people of the United Kingdom, I am sorry. Well, Joshua has said this, Jake or anyone can get this work. No mercy. I took some time out and I'm coming back with a mega show. It's a big opportunity for me, whether you like it or not. I'm here to do massive numbers, have big fights, and break every record whilst keeping cool, calm, and collected. Mark my words, you'll see a lot more fighters take these opportunities in the future. I'm about to break the internet over Jake Paul's face.
Nikisa Bedarian, the chief executive of MVP who represents Jake Paul, told Sky Sports how Jake had thought of this in March of this year and said that he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. People had laughed at him then, and the question was asked again in July, to which Biden says it was something that was supposed to happen in March and April 2026, but things changed and Jake Paul stood up saying, I want to face Joshua now.
Well, we sort of knew it was coming, didn't we? But a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Joshua, everything disappears. I mean, it's all built up so beautifully, isn't it?
It's an incredible day. Jake thought of this in March of this year and said, I want to fight Anthony Joshua. People laughed then. I was here at Sky Sports in July. The question was asked, do you see this happening? And our plan was to do this in March, April of 26. Plans changed. And Jake stood up and said, I want to face Joshua now. So it's Jake versus Joshua, Judgment Day, Friday, December 19th from Miami, live on Netflix globally.
He has a pretty good shot of winning this fight, claims Nikki Sabedarian. He talks about how this is a more dangerous fight for Paul than Gervonta Tank Davis, but a more winnable fight because according to him, with the two in comparison, Joshua is big, a heavy puncher, and not as evasive as compared to Gervonta being small, fast, and super skilled. So, with the right game plan, Jake Paul could win this.
How dangerous is this for Paul?
This is a more dangerous fight than Gervonta Tank Davis, but it's a more winnable fight than Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta was small, fast, super skilled. Joshua is big, heavy puncher, but not as evasive. So I think if Jake has the right game plan, he has a pretty good shot of winning this fight.
The chief executive of MVP also claims about how this fight is much less of a mismatch than you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, a massive man with not much of a boxing experience. He also adds how this is much less of a mismatch compared to AJ's 9th or 10th fight with people who had been knocked out 20 to 25 times, but Jake is built for this and the big moments. Nikisa says this fight is dangerous not only for Jake Paul, but AJ also.
What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua? 100%.
Apparently, the two fighters had talked about this fight back in March, saying we want to do this, says Bidarani. He says how after the mutual interest of the two fighters, the opportunity arrived when they were the ones who drove the conversation, saying how they wanted to do it for boxing. MVP's biggest priority wasn't Jake Paul getting a fight, but the other fighters on the card who had been training for a massive moment like this too, making Matt Broom and Eddie Hearn great partners in the process.
The two of them spoke about this back in March and said, we want to do this. So when the opportunity arose, they were the ones that drove the conversation to say, yes, we want to do this for boxing. Our biggest priority wasn't Jake Paul getting a fight. Our biggest priority was the other fighters on the card who'd been training hard for this massive moment. And that's what we put together. And then Matchroom and Eddie Hearn were great partners throughout the process.
Former professional boxer Spencer Oliver didn't hold back. He said, God help Joshua, because that's all he can say given what AJ had done to Francis in a couple of rounds. How he completely iced him out and how Joshua is someone coming from a different discipline compared to Jake Paul, who has only had one fight against a legitimate boxer, Tom Fury. Oliver questions if Jake Paul actually believes he can beat Joshua.
Spencer, you are a boxer. For real. Should this guy be anywhere near Joshua?
God help Jake Paul, that's all I can say. We saw that what Anthony Joshua had done to Francis Ngannou. He went out there and iced him in a couple of rounds. A guy coming from a different discipline. Well, this kid's coming from another level. You know, white-collar boxing in 2018, gone through the mill, and the only boxer really that he's actually boxed, a legitimate boxer he got beat by, and that was in Tommy Fury. Now he stepped up to the plate. Does he really believe that he can beat Anthony Joshua at heavyweight? All right, he's put a restriction in there. Anthony Joshua can't be no heavier than 245 pounds. Well, the last time he boxed Alexander Usyk, which was not that long ago, he was 245 pounds, so I don't see that being a big problem.
Spencer Oliver also talks about how this is going to be the biggest fight financially and number-wise in boxing history. The biggest viewed boxing fight in history ever, he said. He also adds how there is going to be a split of potentially £170 million between the two. Oliver circles back to questioning if Jake Paul is really that deluded to believe he's going to beat AJ in this fight.
Do you know the bizarre thing here, Jim? That this will be financially and number-wise the biggest fight in boxing history.
Ever.
The biggest viewed fight in boxing history ever. And there's been some great fights over time. That is insane, isn't it? And the highest paid fighters as well. What Jake Paul, they're an estimated £170 million split between these two. But Jake Paul, is he really that deluded that he thinks he's going to go in there and beat Anthony Joshua?
Simon explains how Jake Paul's real value is not in fighting alone, but how he markets himself. He admits he doesn't fully understand the Jake or Logan Paul phenomenon, but that doesn't matter because he's not in the audience. What matters is the scale of the opportunity, and according to Simon, that is shaping up to be one of the kind of fights where Netflix will willingly pour massive money into it, with the reason being Jake Paul, who drives subscriptions like no other.
I don't know what he thinks, but what he does do is he markets himself in the space that he operates in. I don't get this Jake Paul or Logan Paul phenomenon, but I'm not the audience. It doesn't matter what I get. The opportunity for Netflix is that it's a drive to subscribe. They'll pay $100 million. And the wraparound fees that come from sponsorship.
As Jay also points out that the Tyson vs. Paul generated $20 million in gate receipts and brought in 2 million new Netflix subscribers, making this potential fight worth around 150 to 160 million pounds. Numbers that make perfect sense for Netflix strategy. But after laying out all the financial logic, Simon circles back to the same puzzling question. Does Jake Paul genuinely believe he can beat Anthony Joshua, or is he just leveraging the spectacle better than anyone else in the sport?
$20 million was generated in gate receipts for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. So we know this is a $150-160 million fight. We know that it makes sense to Netflix to do it because in the last fight that they had with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they developed 2 million new subscribers. The average lifetime value of a subscriber is $900. So if you look at that and say they're going to generate $2 billion in potential increased revenues as a result of paying these fighters 100 million quid, you can see the metrics of it. They're also retaining their base. They're also moving content into a different space, which is sport. So it all makes sense. It's like the mobile phone industry that I knew very well. Used to sell phones for nothing so people could get the airtime, and the airtime was where the money is. The content delivery is where the subscribers go to, and then they pay the subscription. So we all understand the model. As far as the fight is concerned, oh no, don't be silly. I mean, Anthony Joshua can go in his nightgown and beat Jake Paul. The issue is, does he hurt Jake Paul? How curated it is? I debated it with boxers, with Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie and Spencer about would Joshua go in there with a mindset, which is he knows he doesn't have to get out of second gear, so he doesn't have to do to Jake Paul what people fear he might do, which is knock him into the next life.
Simon says this isn't a real fight, it's an easy night for Anthony Joshua. He argues the event isn't about boxing legacy, but about entertainment, built entirely on Jake Paul's ability to draw massive audiences to Netflix. Simon even admits he wouldn't watch it on his own because he knows it's a spectacle, not a clash of champions. He points out that unlike traditional fights, there's no real story of rivalry or pedigree here, it's all hype and showmanship. The focus is on clicks, subscriptions, and global attention rather than who's truly the best in the ring. And while the numbers make sense, Simon questions whether the spectacle can ever replace real competition.
Listen, if you look at the narrative of what this is to me, this is not a fight. This to me is an easy night's work for Anthony Joshua. No one's dressing up as anything different besides Jake Paul. The Conor Benn, Chris Eubank narrative was about how wonderful they were as fighters when really and truly it was their fathers that were wonderful, and they traded off it. No one's trading.
But yes or no, will you watch it?
But no one's trading. No, I won't.
Will you watch it?
No, not at all. But for different reasons. No one's trading off anybody in this situation.
Wait. I thought you were coming out there with me.
Well, I might come out there.
There you go.
But would I watch it? If I wasn't coming out to Miami,
so you might go out there. And you might be.
Well, you just
at
sat there banging on saying I should.
But I wasn't going to the arena. You'll be up the back like that.
He's coming to Miami. We're going to Muscle Beach.
If I go to Miami, then before we had this break, you said to me, you should go. I said, I'm not going, I can't bother with that. And you said, you should go.
to Miami. I didn't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know I was going.
All right. Okay. So
so would I watch it if I wasn't working towards it? No, I probably wouldn't, because I know what it is. I don't think it's real.
All right.
But I'm not categorizing it as real. I'm saying this is where sport meets entertainment. Yeah. This is about Jake Paul and the audiences that he's bringing on Netflix. Whereas Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank was billed as a real battle of real champions. This is not being billed as a battle of champions.
Jim, the reality is that Simon was desperate to get out on Muscle Beach because he'd been working out in the gym, and this is a prime opportunity.
So drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you tuning in to watch the chaos unfold, curious to see if Jake Paul can really step up, or skipping it entirely because you think it's all just hype? With Jake trolling the entire boxing community and gearing up for a showdown with Anthony Joshua, this fight is everyone talking. Do you think boxing is crossing the line into pure entertainment, or is it simply developing for a new era of viewers? Hit like and subscribe.